Hey guys, what is going on? Jake Felzine here. Today we are doing some more GoPro footage, some more GoPro analysis. We are going to see if we can analyze some GoPro footage that I took the other day. For some context, we're using the new GoPro Hero 7, and for this particular video I actually played a little bit around with some settings. Normally, guys, I shoot 4K wide, just because you can't shoot linear in 4K, but I wanted to try linear at 2.7K, see how it turned out, and I used 60 frames per second and shot it with it mounted to my bike handlebars. So let's drag that footage in and let's take a little peek at it, because basically the problem today is we saw shaky footage when there wasn't a ton of light, and I want to see what kind of stuff we can play around with when we analyze that. So anyway, let's hop on down to the computer and let's show you guys what I am talking about. Alrighty guys, so we're going to drag these three clips on over, and these are the three that we're going to be looking at as really examples for what I was seeing. In this first clip right here, it was actually pretty good, and again, I'm really liking this perspective. So let's just drop this down into our timeline and let's take a little look at what we've got going on here. Let's mute our microphone so that we don't hear ourselves too much here. So if we just play back this clip, everything looks really pretty good. I like the linear field of view. It just looks a little bit less GoPro-ish, and I really liked how low it was on my handlebars, and it really got this cool shot of Logan. And right here we have a pretty decent amount of light. Everything looks pretty nice. Let's do a little bit of touch-up just so we can really over-analyze this clip, make it look kind of as nice as possible. For those of you who are wondering how I edit my GoPro footage, I did a whole video on that. I'll try and put one of the little bars up right there for you guys to click. But otherwise, I mean, I'm just going to do it really quick right here. I generally bring down my shadows, bring up my highlights for contrast, and then I crank up my saturation to really bring the color back. I shoot a lot of stuff really flat. That just has worked the best for me in the past. So when we look at this clip, it's looking really pretty good, but you can see kind of in here, there is definitely a little bit of this sort of like aliasing type of jitter stuff, but it's not too bad. This looks pretty good. It gets really tricky when I do this second clip. So let's just pause this. We're going to cut this down and let's bring in the second clip. This one I was really picking apart the other day after I shot this. Logan and I went on this ride, I think, last week, and I've been meaning to make this video because the Hero 7's stabilization is really, really good. I mean, it is so impressive, but in these new situations with not a lot of light, it really, really struggles, and that's not completely surprising, but I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I plan on trying in the future to really make this a much better experience. But if we play this back, you'll see that there is just a ton of little micro jitters going on. I really like this field of view. I really think that in good light, I think this video would turn out really, really good. I think the stabilization would look really good, but you can see as I go over some of these rocks right here, I mean, it's just so blurry, and really that is just these tiny little micro jitters. And I mean, again, I had, you know, the Hero 7, awesome stabilization in regular light. I had it just mounted on my handlebars, basically. It wasn't even on me, which would really help with that stabilization. It was just on the handlebars. But all in all, it just is pretty much unusable. I mean, this footage was cool, and I mean, if I, told you that I shot this on Halloween night, maybe that's kind of the vibe that would look a little bit cool. We've got some of that blur, but all in all, it's just not really usable. It's not going to work, and it's just kind of a bummer. The one cool takeaway from this footage is this angle with linear with 2.7. Looks pretty cool, looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with the result. Let's do a little more contrast. And I definitely want to try this again. I want to try this 2.7 at 60 frames. I think it looks really cool. It's a cool perspective on the handlebars, nice and low. But again, here we're going over some rocks. it just really struggles, which is just such a bummer. But the point is, and here, let's do one more example of what we're seeing here, and then I'll show you guys kind of what my game plan moving forward is to maybe combat this. Here's another one of me just kind of vlogging in the car. Let's get those colors looking a little bit better, just so that we can kind of analyze from a overall perspective of what we might expect to see. The skin tones in the GoPro are still definitely not the best. I would like those to be a little bit better, but all things considered, still pretty darn good. But when we watch this clip, you're gonna see every time I move the camera, these little micro jitters when I'm talking. And, you know, again, it just proves the point. The GoPro stabilization is not great in low light. For all three of these clips, I shot with ISO min 100 and ISO max 100. So kind of moving forward, one thing that I'm going to be really conscious of is if it's not complete broad daylight, I'm going to try and shoot always in 24 frames. I love shooting 60 because it gives me some of those hyper smooth slow motion benefits. Oh, and here you can just see the stabilization has suddenly gotten so much better with all of that daylight instead of being within the car. But what I want to try is let's bump up that max ISO a little bit. So I'm going to, instead of 100, 100, I'm going to play around a little bit with 100, 400 just to see what kind of happens. I don't have super high expectations, but I'm hoping that maybe that gives me a little bit of a cleaner result, brings up that, you know, light distortion a tiny bit. We might see a little bit more noise at 400 ISO in the GoPro, but it's going to be more light sensitive, meaning that it'll be able to capture more light. So 24 frames in the dark for sure, 100 ISO, and that's going to definitely help with these micro jitters. One thing that I will say is if you're not doing something like bike riding down the mountain, if you're just vlogging like I was in the car here, you can turn that stabilization off and you will absolutely not get those weird stability micro jitters. You're going to get micro jitters from your hand because of course you can't hold a camera this small completely steady, but it's going to be probably a little bit more natural looking than if you were doing those micro jitters. So anyway, guys, point of today's video, I just wanted to look over some footage. You know, I keep shooting and shooting with this camera. I keep getting more and more impressed with this camera. Great little camera. I love it. I've been shooting tons of videos with it just because I'm so intrigued by its potential. And I'm just learning more and more about it. So one thing that I've definitely learned is watch that low light. This camera sucks in low light. And I thought my Micro Four Thirds camera sucked in low light compared to something like a A7 III full frame or Canon 1DX. But anyway, GoPro, not great in low light. So what do I recommend? 24 frames, bump that ISO ever so slightly. I'm gonna play around with it. I'll let you guys know my findings. I have a video coming out later this week from this weekend where my dad and I went razoring. With shooting this razor ride, I did do some 240 frames per second where that 400 ISO bumped up on the max is definitely going to play into effect. So we'll see just how much noise comes out of that, and we'll probably do kind of a post-analysis video on that razor ride when we're done. But anyway, guys, that is all I have for you today. I am loving the new Hero 7. If you don't have one of these, definitely consider going and picking one up. It's kind of enabling me to really just have a lot more fun when I go out and make videos, and that is super important to me. I love this camera. I can't wait to use it this winter with snowmobiling, so stay tuned for that. And then also just stay tuned for these videos where we just have little chats and I talk to you guys about, you know, kind of how I'm editing in Final Cut and the results that I'm seeing. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys tonight. Stay tuned for the Razor Ride video later this week, and just stay tuned for more GoPro stuff. I'm loving this camera. And oh, and also, just so you know, winter time is like completely hitting Boise, Idaho. Daylight savings was last night, so pretty much I lose my ability to shoot movies and videos. Not movies, I don't make movies, I make videos. I lose the ability to shoot my videos after work. I work a full-time job. I'm actually a software developer, engineer, whatever you want to call me, by profession, by trade. That's what I get paid to do for my job, but I have fun making videos. So during the week, I've got a whole bunch of videos planned where I want to talk to you guys with my Panasonic, which makes it easy. Low light is not as much of a problem with my Lumix G9. With this little guy going out and doing vlogs and that type of stuff, a lot harder when I go in pretty much before there's light and I come out of work and there's just maybe a half hour to an hour left of light after daylight savings. So anyway, apologies for that. We'll have definitely weekend videos, of course, where we'll go do stuff this winter. But in the meantime, there might be a few more indoor videos than usual, but I've got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. If you guys are at all interested in that, stay tuned for those. So anyway, more GoPro videos coming out this week, more videos where I'm talking to you guys. We're doing some more analysis on some footage. And yeah, that's all I've got. Catch you guys in the next one. Have a good week.